Hello everyone, my name is Bob Stafford and you're watching Traymaster Bob. And today I'm going to start with part one of a series on building the Atlantic Hosiery Company for my HO scale Susquehanna Hudson River Railroad. I grew up in northern New Jersey and northeastern Pennsylvania. The area that I grew up in, we had lots of knitting mills and sewing mills, garment mills, silk mills. Throughout the entire area, there was a humongous clothing industry. We had like Blue Ridge Winkler Textiles in Bangor, Pennsylvania, that made cloth for the industry. And there's thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of people were employed in the garment industry before it was all shipped off to China in the 1970s. I remember it fondly, and I wanted to put some kind of a garment mill on my railroad. And I decided to call it a knitting mill. I remember Kramer Knitting Mill in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. That's the inspiration for it. And I decided to use the Walther's Great Land Sugar Kit building as a base. This building here just is the kind of building that the mills were. I mean, if there was like flour mills had this shape to them. The larger knitting sewing mills had this shape to them. Some of them had flat roofs, but a lot of them had the peak roofs, and then they had the fancy brickwork at the end. So I'm using this building, and now we're going to go and we're going to begin construction, and I'll take you through my step-by-step steps of how I'm building this building. I painted the interior walls of my structure with the Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Alter Cover light gray primer. It's a plastic compatible paint. And the reason I paint the inside of my structures is if I ever decide to add interior detail or lighting. Most structures are painted gray, white, light green that I've been in the industrial world. So this way, if I do that, you can see through the windows, they'll be painted. The next step that I do is I take my building and I put painter's tape on the inside of the window and door holes. So this way, when I put the coat of paint for primer on the outside here, it will not go through the windows, and I will not have spray over onto the inside of the building. Now that I've covered up the windows, I'm going to next be painting the primer coat on the outside of my buildings. And what I'm going to use is Rust-Oleum chalked ultra matte paint in this chiffon cream color. It's a very light off-white color, and I want to use that color to fill in here and to represent the mortar and the bricks. And then over top of this, I'll be sponging on layers of various brick colors and building up my colors over top of this, and then ultimately finish it with a wash. When I'm painting my buildings, I'm using the rattle cans. I just like to take a piece of masking tape, pull off a piece, fold it over. So now it becomes sticky on both sides basically, and I just put two pieces on my building sides, one in each end, and stick it down to the cardboard. And now it's ready for me to paint. Well, as the saga of the Atlantic Hosiery Company continues here, I finished priming up my sides. The inside I've done in the Painter's Touch light gray primer, and I'm doing up the, so I did the outside with the chalk paint by Krylon. I forget the exact color, but it just gives me a real nice light color to work off of. And I prefer this over the light gray because it's just not as dark as the light gray. And what I found is the techniques that I would use like for a design preservation model or from sides that are brick cut from wood with a laser printer don't work on the Walters Cornerstone buildings because of the pilasters here. Just can't get in there and dab and do things. So what I found works best is through trial and error, and I made the error of trying to do it the other way first, and it would come out very poorly because I just couldn't get paint around the pilasters here. I found it seems to work the best is to just start with the wide brush. Got a set of brushes, Michaels and Joann's, Hobby Lobby all sell these. And if you got a good arts and crafts store in your town, go buy them there. Support your small business. We don't have one here, so anyways, what I found works best, I just take a little cup, a little plastic cup. I believe this was a cup off of a laundry detergent, the top of it, and I make it a point, I just put my brush in here and I wet it. And I have put some folk art burnt sienna. I'm going to use the burnt sienna as a base color first, and then layer colors on top of that. So I wet my brush, get some of the paint off. I found it seems to work best to work the paint into your pilasters here first. So that's what I'm doing. Start there, wet my brush. More paint. And brickwork up here at the top, the decorative brickwork here. Then just a case of water and paint and give myself a base color here to go off of. And make sure you do the insides like this, so when you put your window frames in, you don't have any white showing through. Now over here, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Be careful though, this area in here, because of the way you're doing things, can tend to get darker on you. If they do, put your brush in the water, just run your wet brush over this and try to keep them all about the same color. And just continue doing this. Got excess water like this, just wipe your brush off. Pull your excess water out. Wipe your brush, keep pulling your excess water out. There we go. And we're a little light up here in color, need a little more color up there. And I'll just kind of continue to do that all the way across here. Okay, earlier we applied our burnt sienna base coat, and that's it sitting here. My next step is we're going to start to go around and we're going to add some more little colors to it. I'm going to start with just a little bit of this berry wine color from Folk Art. One of the other companies got one called French Wine. It's very similar. It's like just a sort of a reddish purple color. Dip our brush into the water. I get a little bit of it. So put a few blobs around here. Just in a random manner. I'll just bring out a little bit redder bricks later on. That's all. Yep, looks like we're giving this building the measles here. I remember having them when I was a kid twice, actually. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this Americana here, Heritage Brick. Shake up a little bit, put it on the palette. I got a paper towel. Got some sponge here. For this, I'm just going to sponge out. And I'm going to use a sponge. I'm just going to start sponging this in places. Try to keep it up, wrapped around. Bit of a circle color here, get a circle form as much as I can. So I'm just starting to build some texture up with this. Again, we get the same problem. It's hard to get into the pilasters here. Just can't get into them. So I just end up using a brush. Make sure I wipe off most of the paint. I just got to put a little paint into here like this, okay? And I use these angled brushes. They work good. I just got to come around here, around my pilasters a little bit. Just see here. See how when you go in with the, you cannot get it in there with the sponge. So you need to go in there and start working your paint in here with the brush. Should be able to see that there. Do it very carefully. And come back with your sponge. And just keep sponging around where you've filled in your pilaster there. Just a little bit of paint at the end of your brush is all you need. Okay, we're making some progress here. This is our basic red brick color. Colors of bricks varied all over the country according to the colors of the clays that were available in the areas where the bricks were being made. Some places they were more brown, some places they were more of a yellow color. Just depends upon the color of the clay. In the Northeast where I grew up, most of the bricks were a dark red color. And that's what I want to do here. Now there was some buildings with like brown bricks or yellow bricks. They were basically buildings that had bricks shipped in from other places to build them. They weren't made from local bricks, and it was done on purpose to make those buildings stand out. I gotta put a little more on here, make that all fill in. There we go. And let's see if we can do over here a little bit more. You can see that there. Okay. And we just gotta get it filled in there, get rid of those lines. Blend it in a little bit, the brush. Go. Okay, getting it blended in. These pilasters just make it harder to try to build up using this technique, but I just think it's superior than having spray painting it with one color of paint and then just trying to do something about it. Overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I'll continue, and the next step I do, I'll just keep working here. I'll take some orange, whatever I got for orange. Oh, burnt orange is a good color. Didn't have any, so what's this, pumpkin orange? That's all I had. Just a little bit of that. Just use the same old sponge. Pull that on here, get it off. And I'm just going to dab a little of that around in places to break up the monotony. Oh, lost my grip. Here we go. So if I dab a little of that around, start to go layer some color into it that way. And then the other thing is I'll use a little of this raw sienna. Dab some raw sienna on here. Dab it off mostly. Just a little bit of this around here and there. Okay, notice we're starting to get some variation in the colors of the bricks doing that. The last color that I have here is terracotta, another light color. Spread a little bit of that around. More than I wanted, but nice. So with the brush, again we just go around, pull that around. Now I'm going to come back with my brick red here. So my brick red, start to work on filling in areas like this. I'll brick right over where the other colors were just to blend. There we go. And again, same problem here yet. Gotta work around these pilasters. Let the brush just a little bit. There we go. Just filled in there. Damp brush will help blend things in a little bit better. There we go, starting to blend it in. A little bit of water, knock the water off. Just blend. See how we're slowly blending this in that way? So I'm going to continue, finish up the rest of this, and then we'll come back and see what it looks like when I get done. Just using the same technique over and over and over again. And, you know, I'm starting these pilasters. Just work across here. So we'll be back shortly and show you the finished results. Got all 4 walls painted on my main building here, and I just put my walls up against a picture from the Walters painted building that they had on the box. See the difference in the colors they choose compared to how I'm doing it. Now we've let our craft paint dry, and we've got this look to it now. We've got variation of colors in there, and we've got texture built up from using the sponge. Next step is going to be to put a brick mortar in here, and I'm going to use steel gray from Folk Art, craft paint. And I use these little, here, 1 ounce, oh, what's that on there? It's a ½ ounce little condiment cups from Cash and Carry. They're like, they come in a bag of 1,000 and they last you a long time. You'd be surprised how fast you go through them too. So, all I do is put some of this gray in there. Flow. I guess it'll be time to buy some more. Okay, put my gray in there. Got water here in the dropper bottle from my detox. And when I put this in, I just put a little bit of dishwashing liquid right there on the end of the dropper. It's important that you add a little bit of dishwashing liquid to the water so it'll flow into the cracks of the brick mortar and the water does not bead up. I just like using a little bottle like this. It's just a neat way of trying to add water, not spilling it all over the place, like if you're trying to pour it into these little cups. Make sure you thoroughly stir it up, get rid of all the solids. I need a little bit more water. There we go. And the other thing that helps too is pre-wet your brush a little bit. Drop of water on it. And all I do is let the just then just touch it to the brick. Let it start to flow. Not too much, work it out. See there, just touch and flow. Okay, see the idea there? Go ahead and start working on this. Next step in my project is painting the windowsills with a concrete color. Paint my concrete color over here. Again, just on a 3x5 card with some granite gray, steel gray, and raw umber. Basically about 2/3 granite gray, about 1/3 steel gray, and 1 drop out of the bottle basically of the raw umber. Mix it together. Got this gray color. And remember to paint your windowsills here before you put your windows in. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, just once in a while you get in a hurry and you forget. So what I found works easiest for me is to start on the back side first and just do the top of your sills. Okay. Next we'll flip it over. We'll work on the front here. Take your time and be slow. Also, sometimes you just need to take a paper towel, clean your brush up a little bit. Try to just dip the one corner there into the paint. Go. Just takes a while to do. Just gotta be slow and patient. Okay, so you'll get a little bit down on the brick, but we can come back later on and we can patch that up. A little bit of brick color. Got the idea? I'll go on Got 2 sides, 2 ends to do this too. That's 4 dozen, about 6 dozen window sills here to paint. So I'll be a little while doing this, but it's well worth the effort. Take each individual window and take a coarse sanding stick from the beauty supply store, and where you've cut the windows off from the moldings of the sprues, there's always just a little rough spot right there. So remove all of them off the windows, each and every one, prepping them for painting. Just check the corners. Sometimes there's a little raised area in the corners here. There we go. And we start with another one. And we just repeat this process for all the windows. Occasionally you'll see a little bit of flash in your window frame there. That I just get myself an X-Acto knife. There's an X-Acto knife, I guess, go in there and very carefully take it out. There we go, we can see it's gone. I got 2 containers. This is my windows to be done, and this is my windows I've completed sanding on. Well, I finished going through and prepping all these windows, doing away with the little sprue marks here. Now it's ready. Next step is to prep them for painting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint them with this Rust-Oleum Painters Plus 2X light gray primer. I got all of my windows spray painted with the primer paint. Now comes the tedious job of taking them all off of the tape and getting them ready to paint later on. Thinking about what color I'm going to paint them. Going to do a dark green, or am I going to do them in black? They need to be a dark color, I know that. Because since they're going to be close to a anthracite coal mine, there's going to be a lot of coal dust in the air, and there's no way you're going to have white windows. Also, I've been looking at a lot of pictures from the 1930s and 40s of New York City. And the thing I noticed was, with that time, coal was the primary source of heating. A lot of smoke in the air. And I just noticed a lot of houses in the city were painted with green trim, black trim, and brown trims. Different shades of brown. Which I just never noticed until I started looking at colored photographs from the 30s and 40s. The next project here is preparing the windows. I've done a few here. Windows and doors. What we're doing here is taking a piece of sponge and we're using it to dab on to the windows and doors basically. So grout sponge, I think this was a sponge I got over at Harbor Freight. Whatever, just pull yourself pieces off. Rip it down to a size you can manage, and you do not want to use the flat side like this. You want to use the irregular sides after you have ripped it off. And I just got a lid here. Okay, got a lid. Shake my paint up. I got Folk Art Hunter Green, which is a good industrial color. Just throw some in my lid. Take one of my windows over here. Just very simple. Okay, got the irregular side here, and I sort of try to curve it up into round so I have nothing that's flat on there. Just dip some a little bit in there, dab it off. Okay, and then I dab it onto the window. Very easy. Doesn't require great artistic talent, which is a plus for me. And we have a window done. And we'll put it into the container here. Got a container over here. As I get the windows done, doors done, I just drop them in the container. And it's just repeat, repeat, and repeat. Like here's a door, came out next. Got more surface area in the door. I try to get the top, down the sides. I try to get up and underneath in the door here because the paint would stay in the sill more. Along the side of the sills there more. There we go. Get all done with these, and I'll give them a black wash. It'll help to blend things in more. And I just got another dozen and a half or more windows to go. Well, I've got the mortar wash done on all four sides of the main building here for Atlantic Hosiery. And now it's time to put the windows in. Okay, when I put windows in, I just use a dollar store gel super glue. I've bought the expensive stuff at the hobby shop and stuff, and just dries up on me lots of times before I ever finish using it. Like $5-6 a bottle. Yep. This stuff here, small amounts. I normally use it up before it dries up. Sometimes I don't. But I just like to use the gel. And all I do is just put my window frame down in place there. Window casting. I just put a little bit of this around. Hold it in place. Works out just fine. And that's all there is to it. I just got to repeat it now. Just repeat and do, repeat and do. Make sure you don't get it up over the top of the casting, because we got our window glass yet to put on there. We need to keep that flat. I put small amounts of glue out at a time so it doesn't dry up on me. I'll just continue to do this until I get it done. Okay, got all the windows in. And now comes the glass. Clear acrylic in a structure kit from Walters. I just used the... Actually, I don't even have to do that. Here we go. Yeah. They'll just break right off. They got really thick bases on them here, so I can't really cut them, so let's just go about doing this a little bit differently. They got rough edges on them from being broke off. We'll get a coarse nail file out here, clean that up a little bit. Thing right there, so we'll just clean that up. We're putting them on. I put my window glass in the same way that I put my castings in. Just use the super glue, gel, and then toothpick. This one we use for the windows. Start off with a new one. And it's the same thing. Just put your glass down. Hold in position, tap a little glue around the edges of it here. I've learned lots of times just to sweat in your fingers makes your fingers want to stick to the glass, so I take the clean end of the toothpick and I hold it down before I take my finger off so I don't move the glass. I got all my windows glued onto the window castings. That's how things are shaping up now. Probably see a little bit of a glare there. Now my next step in doing this is, I remember from being in these old buildings, I first started in the railroad back in the early 70s. And we also had them in all of our railroad offices too, as we had these like khaki colored window shades. Really heavy stuff, you know, industrial grade, lasts forever. And I got some of this Delta Green Coat eucalyptus paint. I'm just gonna take my good old 3x5 file card, get this back on the top here, paintbrush out, spread this around. This is going to become my window shades. I have to start another card too. I'll sit and let this dry. And we'll come back and we're going to cut some window shades. Okay, now it's time to move on and put some window shades in here like I discussed earlier. Measure across here, see what I am. I'm at, looks like 5/8. Come over here. 5/8. We'll line it up straight because this doesn't have to be perfect. Got my first window shades off here. Same thing here. First I'm going to straighten up my corner. My masking tape. Over for my 5/8. Do the same thing again. 5/8. Now it's time to think about how wide I want to make things. Okay, I got to come from here to there. So we go 1/4 inch. Mark off our 1/4 inches. This one's not quite 1/4 inch, but close enough. We already got our 5/8 here. Let's take one first. Take a window shade here. Give it a try. Put a window shade in place. tape over here. I didn't get it too straight, did I? Well, let's put another piece on it. That's what we gotta do. Peeling underneath the tape with the X-Acto knife seems to work about the best. Pick it up, get it on the shade. Shade in place over here. Stuck to my fingers to the paper. There we go. Get our shorter pieces over here. Fasten this down. Curl up on me a little bit. There we go. That in place while we push it down. Let's see where we're at with this. There we go. I guess you should be able to see that. Got all the window shades installed. Got a little variation in them. They're roughly about the same place, but there's a little difference in them. I think it just brings out the eye to look at the windows. And now on to the next part of this project. Just thought before I put the building together, I'll show you the difference between the original piece straight out of the box and what the side now looks after being worked on with the base coat primer and then having the various colors layered on top of it. Windows installed, shades installed. Quite a contrast. This completes part one of my video on the construction of the Atlantic Hosiery Company. Part number two, we're going to be assembling the main structure building. We're going to be putting a roof on it and adding the addition for the shipping dock. So if you found my video to be useful, please hit the thumbs up button there and subscribe to the channel. And you can find more of my content at trainmasterbob.com.